Welcome to After Our Mysteries. In today's video, we are going to dive deep into the alien craft discovered miles beneath the Antarctic ice. In this chilling tale, we journey into the frozen abyss, where scientists stumble upon a discovery that will test their courage, challenge their beliefs, and push the very limits of human understanding. Prepare yourself as we dive into the mysteries that await in the icy depths, a journey that promises to take you beyond the bounds of imagination. In the heart of Antarctica, where the sun barely grazes the horizon, a realm of icy desolation stretches as far as the eye can see. Jagged mountains rise like ancient sentinels, their peaks cloaked in perpetual snow. The air is crisp and biting, a relentless reminder of nature's unforgiving power. A small research station, a beacon of human resilience, stands resolute against the elements, a sanctuary for those brave enough to seek answers in this frozen frontier. Inside the station, Dr. Elara Reed, a passionate astrobiologist, gazes out from the frosted window, her breath fogging the glass as she squints into the blinding white expanse. Her heart swells with anticipation. Today marks the beginning of a new expedition, one that could rewrite everything humanity knows about life beyond Earth. With each passing moment, the thrill of the unknown ignites her imagination. She turns to her team, her eyes ablaze with excitement, eager to share her vision. Today, we dig deeper than ever before, she declares, her voice steady, cutting through the tension that hangs in the air like the chill outside. What lies beneath the ice could change our understanding of the universe. We must be ready for anything. Her words resonate with the fervor of possibility, a call to adventure that stirs the souls of those around her. Beside her, Dr. Samuel Carter, a skeptical physicist with a penchant for caution, raises an eyebrow. Or it could just be more ice and rock, Elara. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, he replies, his tone pragmatic, yet tinged with concern. Despite his doubts, he can't help but feel the thrill of the unknown tugging at his senses. Samuel has always been the voice of reason, a grounding force amidst the fervor of discovery, yet he finds himself captivated by Elara's passion. Maya, the enthusiastic intern, bounces on her heels, her excitement palpable. What if we find evidence of alien life? Can you imagine? This is our chance to make history. Her youthful exuberance seems to fill the room, a stark contrast to Samuel's reservations. She represents the hope of a new generation of scientists, unburdened by the weight of skepticism that often accompanies experienced researchers. As the team suits up for the day's work, the atmosphere is electric, a combination of hope, fear, and uncharted possibilities. Each member of the team brings their own unique perspective to the table, and Elara feels a surge of pride as she looks at them. They gather around the drilling equipment, a towering machine that hums with potential, its metallic surface reflecting the harsh fluorescent lights overhead. Elara lays out the plan, her voice steady and authoritative. We'll drill at Site Beta, where previous cores have hinted at unusual deposits. If there's anything down there, we'll find it. With a collective nod, they set to work, the sound of machinery drowning out the howling winds outside. The drill roars to life, its powerful engine churning through the ice with relentless determination. Each turn of the drill feels like a heartbeat, a pulse driving them deeper into the icy ground. And with each inch they descend, Elara's anticipation grows. She feels a connection to the ice, as if it holds whispers of the past, secrets waiting to be unearthed. After hours of drilling, a sudden jolt halts their progress, the machine sputtering as the team exchanges worried glances. Tension creeps in, thickening the air around them. What was that? Samuel asks, his eyes narrowing as he peers into the depths of the newly formed hole. Doubt flickers across his face, but Elara's resolve only strengthens. Elara's heart races, adrenaline surging through her veins. Let's check the readings, she urges, her excitement mingling with uncertainty. The data begins to flow in, and as they analyze the results, a glimmer of something extraordinary appears, a signal unlike anything they've encountered before, pulsing with an energy that sparks both wonder and fear. Could it be? Maya breathes, her eyes wide with wonder, her imagination ignited by the prospect of discovery. Elara shares her enthusiasm, feeling a sense of destiny unfolding before them. But this was just the beginning. Unbeknownst to them, their curiosity has stirred something ancient and powerful, lying dormant beneath the ice, waiting to be awakened. As they stand on the precipice of discovery, the horizon of their understanding begins to shift, promising a journey that will test their limits and challenge everything they thought they knew. As the sun dipped low on the horizon, casting an ethereal glow over the ice-covered landscape, the team gathered around the drill's output. The air inside the research station buzzed with anticipation, thick with the scent of coffee and the palpable energy of discovery. Ilara, her heart racing, examined the data streaming in on the computer screens, her fingers dancing over the keyboard with an urgency that mirrored her excitement. "Look at this," she exclaimed, her voice rising above the soft hum of the machines. She pointed to a graph displayed on the monitor, illustrating a series of anomalous readings that defied explanation. "This signal, it's unlike anything we've seen in the core samples so far." The excitement in her voice was contagious, igniting a spark in her colleagues. Samuel leaned closer, his skepticism momentarily forgotten as he scrutinized the readings. "Are you sure it's not just interference? The equipment can be finicky out here," he cautioned, though the glimmer of curiosity in his eyes betrayed his desire to believe. "No, this is different," Maya interjected, her enthusiasm bubbling over like a shaken soda can. "What if it's a signal from something alive? We have to investigate." She could hardly contain her excitement, her youthful imagination racing ahead to possibilities that seemed almost too incredible to fathom. Ilara nodded, her mind racing with the implications of their findings. "We need to go back to the drill site. If this signal is coming from deeper within the ice, it could lead us to something monumental." Her gaze shifted between Samuel and Maya, sensing the weight of their collective decision. The three of them quickly gathered their gear, wrapping themselves in layers of thermal clothing that made them feel like marshmallows, ready to brave the elements. Outside the station, the wind howled like a restless spirit, swirling snowflakes around them as they made their way to the drill site. Each step into the frigid air felt like a step into the unknown, but the thrill of discovery propelled them forward, overriding any trepidation. When they reached the drill site, the machine stood silent, its drill bit glinting under the fading light, like a metallic spear thrust into the heart of the ice. Ilara adjusted her headlamp, illuminating the area as she crouched down to inspect the hole. "Let's see what we can find," she said, her voice steady despite the chill racing down her spine. As they peered into the depths, the darkness seemed to swallow the light, and an eerie silence enveloped them. The signal pulsed faintly, a rhythmic thrum that resonated with their very beings, echoing through the stillness. "Can you hear that?" Maya whispered, her eyes wide as she leaned closer to the hole, her breath clouding in front of her. "Yes," Ilara replied, her heart racing. "It's almost as if it's calling to us." Samuel, ever the pragmatist, frowned. "We need to be careful. We don't know what's down there. It could be dangerous." His warning hung in the air, a stark reminder of the risks they faced. But Ilara felt an irresistible pull toward the unknown. "We can't turn back now," she insisted, her voice firm. "This could be the breakthrough we've been waiting for." Her determination was contagious, and she could see Maya's excitement mirrored in Samuel's hesitant gaze. With a deep breath, Ilara took the lead, securing a harness around her waist. "I'll go down first. If it's safe, I'll signal for you to follow." Maya's eyes sparkled with excitement, but Samuel stepped in, placing a hand on Ilara's shoulder. "Wait a minute. We need to discuss this. What if something goes wrong?" Ilara met his gaze, her determination unwavering. "We can't let fear hold us back. This is what we came here for." Reluctantly, Samuel nodded, though his brow furrowed with worry. "All right, but let's keep the communication open. If anything feels off, you come back up immediately." With the team's agreement, Ilara descended into the hole, the icy walls closing around her as she made her way down. The drill's shaft felt like a tunnel into another world, the air growing colder and more still with each passing moment. The signal pulsed stronger now, a heartbeat echoing through the darkness, resonating in her bones. At the bottom, Ilara found herself in a small chamber, the walls lined with a strange, glimmering substance that glittered like stars against the dark ice. Her heart raced as she reached out to touch it, the surface cool and smooth beneath her gloved fingers. "Can you see anything?" Samuel's voice crackled through the radio, his concern palpable even from above. "Yes, it's incredible. There's something here," Ilara replied, her excitement bubbling over. She turned her headlamp toward the walls, illuminating intricate patterns that seemed to pulse with light, shifting and changing like living art. "I think we've found something significant." Suddenly, the chamber responded to her presence, the walls vibrating with energy. Ilara stepped back, her instincts screaming that something was awakening. "Samuel! Maya! You need to come down!" she shouted, urgency creeping into her voice. "On our way!" Samuel replied, his tone laced with a mix of excitement and fear. As Maya and Samuel began their descent, Ilara felt a connection to this place, as if the very essence of the craft was reaching out to her. The air crackled with electricity, and she could almost hear whispers dancing on the edge of her consciousness, urging her to understand. When they reached the bottom, Samuel's eyes widened in awe at the sight before them. "What is this?" he breathed, stepping closer to the walls, his scientific mind racing to comprehend the implications. "I don't know, but it feels alive," Ilara replied, her heart pounding in rhythm with the pulsating energy. "We need to document everything." She began to pull out her tools, ready to capture the moment, to record the essence of their discovery. As they began recording their findings, the energy in the chamber intensified, swirling around them in a mesmerizing dance. The walls seemed to shift and change, revealing glimpses of a history long forgotten, a civilization that had once thrived among the stars, now reduced to whispers beneath the ice. Images flickered in and out of focus, depicting strange beings and technologies that defied imagination, their stories etched into the very fabric of the craft. "Do you feel that?" Maya asked, her voice trembling slightly as she stepped back, the weight of what they were witnessing starting to settle in. "It's like something is watching us." Ilara nodded, a chill running down her spine. "We need to be careful. We don't know what we've awakened." The atmosphere was thick with tension, and the air felt charged, as if the very fabric of reality was shifting around them. Just then, a low rumble echoed through the chamber, and the ground beneath them shook. The light flickered, and for a moment, the world seemed to shift around them. The ancient craft was responding, and they could feel its presence growing stronger, as if it had been dormant for eons, waiting for this moment to reveal itself. "Let's get out of here," Samuel shouted, panic rising in his voice as he grabbed Ilara's arm. But before they could react, the chamber erupted in a brilliant flash of light, engulfing them in a blinding brilliance that felt like the dawn of a new era. The light pulsed and throbbed, illuminating the chamber and revealing more of the intricate designs etched into the walls, patterns that seemed to tell a story of creation and destruction, of life and death. As the brilliance subsided, they found themselves standing in awe, their surroundings transformed. The chamber was no longer just a cold, dark void. It was alive with colour and light, a tapestry of memories woven into the very essence of the craft. The signal now pulsed steadily, a heartbeat resonating with theirs, inviting them to delve deeper into its mysteries. "What just happened?" Maya whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "I don't know, but whatever it was, it feels like it's trying to communicate," Ilara replied, her mind racing with possibilities. The implications of their discovery weighed heavily on her, the potential for knowledge and understanding stretching out before them like an infinite expanse. Samuel, still reeling from the shock, shook his head in disbelief. "We need to figure out what this means. If we can decipher this, it could change everything we know about life in the universe." Ilara nodded, determination igniting within her. "Then let's get to work. We have to understand what we're dealing with." They set up their equipment, ready to document every detail, each pulse of light and sound, eager to unlock the secrets hidden within the ancient craft. As they worked, the feeling of being watched lingered in the air, an unshakable presence that both intrigued and unsettled them. With every passing moment, they felt as though they were inching closer to a revelation that could alter the course of humanity's understanding of the cosmos. Little did they know, the craft held dangers beyond their imagination, and the deeper they ventured into its secrets, the more they would awaken forces that had lain dormant for centuries. The thrill of discovery was intertwined with the shadow of consequence, and the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty. With each pulse of the signal, the ancient craft whispered its secrets, and as Ilara, Samuel, and Maya delved deeper into its mysteries, they were on the cusp of a journey that would test their resolve and challenge everything they thought they knew. The chamber pulsed with energy, the walls shimmering with light that seemed to breathe alongside the team. Ilara, Samuel, and Maya stood entranced, their instruments forgotten as they absorbed the spectacle unfolding around them. The ancient craft, once a mere relic of the past, was now alive with stories begging to be told, its essence intertwining with their very beings. "What do you think it all means?" Maya asked, her voice a mixture of awe and curiosity as she traced her fingers along the illuminated patterns etched into the ice. The intricate designs felt warm to the touch, radiating an energy that sent shivers down her spine. Each pattern seemed to respond to her touch, glowing brighter for a moment before settling back into its rhythmic pulse. "I don't know yet, but it feels significant," Alara replied, her analytical mind racing to piece together the fragments of information. These patterns, they could represent a language, a form of communication. If we can decode it, we might understand more about who created this craft and why it's here. Samuel, who had been scanning the chamber with a mixture of wonder and caution, broke in. "We need to document everything. This is unprecedented. We're standing in a space that could hold the key to understanding an entirely new civilization." He began setting up his equipment, ensuring that every detail was captured. His hands moved deftly, but his mind was racing, contemplating the implications of their discovery. But as they worked, the energy in the chamber grew more intense, the air thick with anticipation. The pulsing light seemed to quicken, and a low hum resonated within the walls, vibrating in their bones. Alara felt a tingling sensation at the back of her neck, an instinctual warning that something was stirring, something ancient and powerful. "Do you feel that?" she asked, glancing at her teammates, who were equally aware of the shift in the atmosphere. "Yes," Samuel replied, his brow furrowed. "It's like the craft is responding to us. The energy is building." His voice was steady, but Alara could hear the undercurrent of excitement mixed with apprehension. Before they could react, the chamber erupted in a brilliant flash of light, engulfing them once again. They shielded their eyes, and when the brilliance subsided, they found themselves no longer alone in the chamber. Ethereal figures emerged from the shadows, gliding effortlessly through the air, their features indistinct yet undeniably present, like smoke caught in a gentle breeze. "Who? What are they?" Maya gasped, her voice a whisper as she took a step back, instinctively seeking the comfort of her colleagues. Her heart raced, and she felt a strange mix of fear and fascination. Ilara's heart raced, a mix of fear and exhilaration coursing through her. I think they might be the creators of this craft," she breathed, her scientific curiosity igniting her courage. "They could be the beings we've been searching for." The figures moved closer, their shapes shimmering in and out of focus, as if they were made of light and shadow. They radiated an aura of ancient wisdom, and Alara felt an inexplicable connection to them, as if they were reaching out to her across the chasm of time and space, bridging the gap between their worlds. "Do you understand us?" one of the figures intoned, its voice echoing in the chamber, resonating deep within Alara's mind. The sound was not merely heard, it was felt, stirring something primal within her, a recognition of shared existence. "Yes," Alara replied, her voice steady despite the overwhelming presence of the beings. "We want to learn. We want to understand." The beings exchanged glances, their forms shifting as they communicated with one another in a language that transcended words. Alara could feel their thoughts brushing against hers, a flood of images and emotions that conveyed their ancient history, their rise and fall, and the purpose of the craft they had built. "This place is a repository of knowledge," another figure explained, its voice a gentle hum, like wind rustling through leaves. "We sought to preserve our legacy, to share it with those who would come after us. But time has a way of erasing even the most powerful of civilizations, and now we exist only in the echoes of our past." "What happened to you?" Maya asked, her voice trembling with curiosity and concern, her youthful hope clashing with the weight of the being's sorrow. "We fell into darkness," the first figure replied, its expression sorrowful, a reflection of the pain etched into its form. "We became consumed by our own ambitions, our quest for knowledge leading to our demise. We sought to master the forces of the universe, but we failed to comprehend the delicate balance that sustains existence." Alara felt a wave of empathy wash over her, understanding the burden of knowledge that could lead to ruin. "But you created this craft. You left a part of yourselves behind. Why?" "To warn others," the second figure said, its form shimmering with resolve and urgency. "We hoped that by sharing our knowledge, we could prevent future civilizations from making the same mistakes. We want to guide you toward a path of understanding, to help you see the beauty in coexistence rather than dominance. The chamber responded to their conversation, the patterns on the walls swirling and shifting to reflect the emotions conveyed by the beings. Alara could see visions of their world, a vibrant landscape filled with life and energy, juxtaposed against the desolate remains of their civilization. It was a poignant reminder of what could be lost if knowledge was misused. "Do you comprehend the weight of what you have discovered?" the first figure asked, its voice imbued with a sense of urgency that sent chills down Alara's spine. "You stand at a crossroads. The decisions you make will shape the fate of your civilization." "What do we need to do?" Samuel asked, his voice steady but filled with determination. He was beginning to grasp the gravity of their encounter, his scientific mind eager to understand the implications of their words. "You must listen," the first figure replied, its voice resonating with urgency. "You must learn from our past, and in doing so, you may unlock the secrets of the universe. But be warned, knowledge is a double-edged sword. To wield it wisely requires humility and understanding." Alara felt the gravity of their words settle within her, like a stone in her gut. "We will honor your legacy. We will learn and share what we find, so that your story is never forgotten." Her voice held a conviction that resonated in the air, an oath made in the presence of ancient wisdom. The beings nodded, their forms beginning to fade as the light in the chamber shifted once more, the energy ebbing but not disappearing. "Remember, the journey is as important as the destination. Seek balance, and you will find the truth." With that, the figures dissolved into the light, leaving Alara, Samuel, and Maya alone in the chamber once more. The energy that had filled the space began to settle, but the pulse of knowledge remained, resonating within them like a distant echo. "What just happened?" Maya whispered, still trying to process the profound encounter, her eyes wide with wonder and fear. "I think we've been given a chance," Alara replied, her voice steady but filled with awe. "A chance to learn from their mistakes and to forge a new path." The weight of responsibility settled on her shoulders like a heavy cloak, but it was a mantle she felt prepared to bear. Samuel looked around the chamber, the awe in his expression giving way to determination. "We need to document everything. This is just the beginning. We have to share this knowledge with the world." His mind raced as he considered the potential ramifications of their discovery, both the possibilities and the dangers. As they collected their equipment, the chamber's walls continued to glow softly, the patterns now imbued with a newfound significance. Alara felt a sense of purpose settle within her, a conviction that their discovery could lead to a new understanding of life beyond Earth. The ancient craft was not merely a vessel, it was a testament to the fragility of existence and the importance of wisdom. With their hearts and minds racing, the team ascended back to the surface, the weight of their encounter pressing upon them like the ice surrounding their research station. They emerged into the blinding sunlight, the stark contrast of the outside world hitting them like a wave. The Antarctic landscape stretched out before them, vast and unyielding, a reminder of both the isolation they faced, the infinite possibilities that lay ahead. As they stood together, the immense white expanse sprawled before them, a blank canvas waiting for their story to unfold. The horizon stretched endlessly, and for a moment the enormity of their discovery settled over them like a shroud. They were about to change the world, but the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty. Alara took a deep breath, feeling the crisp air fill her lungs. "This is just the beginning," she said, her voice resolute. "We have a responsibility to honor what we've learned. We need to delve deeper into the craft, to unlock its secrets and share them with the world." The excitement of discovery mingled with the heavy weight of responsibility, and she felt a surge of determination. Samuel and Maya nodded, their expressions filled with resolve. Together, they began to formulate a plan, their minds racing with ideas of how to proceed. The thrill of the unknown invigorated them, each of them feeling the pull of adventure. As they made their way back to the research station, the pulse of the ancient craft echoed in their hearts, a constant reminder of the knowledge they had gained and the legacy they were destined to uphold. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but armed with newfound wisdom and resolve, they were ready to face whatever lay ahead. Alara glanced back at the vast ice field, knowing that beneath its surface lay not just the craft, but also the key to understanding their place in the universe. She felt a deep connection to the past, a promise to the beings who had once inhabited this land, and a determination to ensure that their mistakes would not be repeated. "Let's get to work," she said, her voice filled with purpose. "We need to harness this knowledge and share it before it's too late." With that, they stepped forward into the future, ready to embrace the unknown and determined to uncover the truths that lay hidden beneath the ice. The days following their encounter in the chamber were a whirlwind of activity and excitement. Ilara, Samuel, and Maya worked tirelessly, driven by the profound knowledge they had received from the ethereal beings. Their research station, once a quiet outpost in the vast Antarctic wilderness, now buzzed with frenetic energy as they analysed the data collected from the ancient craft. The air was thick with anticipation, each moment pregnant with the promise of discovery. Ilara spent countless hours poring over the images captured from the walls of the chamber, her heart racing as she began to see connections between the symbols. "Look at this," she exclaimed one morning, her voice tinged with excitement as she pointed at her computer screen. "This pattern here corresponds with the energy readings we recorded during our descent. It's like a map, or a guide to understanding their civilization." Samuel leaned closer, his brow furrowed in concentration. "If this is a map, then it might lead us to other chambers or artifacts," he said, his scientific mind already calculating the possibilities and implications of their findings. "We need to investigate further. There could be more of their history hidden away, waiting for us to uncover it." Maya, who had taken to sketching the patterns in her notebook, looked up, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "What if the other chambers contain more of their history? We could uncover their entire civilization. This is our chance to rewrite history and tell their story." Her optimism was infectious, and Ilara felt a surge of hope coursing through her veins. Determined to follow the lead, they began planning their next expedition back to the drill site. They gathered their gear, ensuring they had the necessary equipment to document whatever they might find. With each passing moment, the anticipation among the three of them grew, a palpable energy that filled the air around them, igniting their imaginations about what lay ahead. As they prepared, Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something monumental. The beings had entrusted them with this knowledge for a reason, and she felt a deep sense of responsibility to honor that trust. The weight of her role as a guardian of their legacy settled upon her shoulders, and she steeled herself for the challenges they might face. On the day of their return to the chamber, the team descended into the depths once more. The air was colder, heavier, as if the very atmosphere was aware of their presence. The familiar pulse of energy greeted them, a rhythmic thrum that resonated within their chests, guiding them deeper into the heart of the craft. Each step they took echoed in the silence, a reminder of the enormity of their undertaking. "Ilara, do you remember the path we took?" Samuel asked, his voice echoing in the narrow space as they navigated the twists and turns of the ice tunnel. The light from their headlamps flickered against the walls, casting playful shadows that danced around them. "Of course," she replied confidently, her resolve unwavering. "We just need to follow the readings. The energy patterns will lead us." With each step, the anticipation grew, and she could feel the weight of history pressing down on them, urging them onward. When they reached the chamber again, Ilara was struck by how different it felt. The light was softer, the energy more welcoming, as if the craft recognized them and was ready to share more of its secrets. She felt a deep connection to the space, as if it were a living entity eager to reveal its truths. "Let's start with the left wall," Samuel suggested, gesturing to a series of symbols that glowed faintly. "These seem to be consistent with what we saw last time, but there are additional markings here. We need to document everything carefully." Maya nodded, her eyes scanning the patterns. "If we can connect these symbols to the energy readings, we might be able to unlock the next part of the message. I have a feeling that there's more to this story than we realize." As they worked, the sense of urgency Ilara felt washed over her like a tide. The beings had warned them of the delicate balance of knowledge, and she was determined to ensure they used it wisely. She took a deep breath, centering herself as they began to decode the symbols, her mind racing with possibilities. Hours passed as they meticulously documented their findings, their excitement bubbling over with each new revelation. Each symbol they deciphered added another layer to the narrative of the ancient civilization, their triumphs and their failures, painting a vivid picture of a society that had once flourished among the stars. The more they learned, the more they realized how interconnected everything was, each symbol and energy reading revealing intricate relationships between their technology, culture, and ultimately, their downfall. "Look at this," Alara said, pointing excitedly at a series of symbols that seemed to form a narrative. These represent the stages of their technological advancement. They started with simple tools, then moved to advanced machinery, and finally, it appears they reached for something greater, perhaps mastery over energy itself. "This is incredible." Samuel's eyes widened as he absorbed the implications. If they achieved that, what did it cost them? What happened to their society? His voice was laced with concern, and Alara could see the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders, the realization that they were standing on the precipice of uncovering something both wondrous and potentially dangerous. "I think that's what we need to uncover," Alara replied, her voice steady. "We have to understand their journey, the choices they made, and the consequences of those choices. It's not just about discovery, it's about learning from the past. We must ensure that we don't repeat their mistakes." Maya, her gaze focused intently on the patterns, nodded in agreement. "This feels like a warning. We have to ensure that we don't let our desire for knowledge lead us down the same path. We must use what we learn to guide humanity, not to dominate it." With renewed determination, they returned to their work, the chamber alive with energy as they delved deeper into the civilization's history. The symbols began to rearrange themselves, shifting and changing in a mesmerizing dance that echoed the rhythm of their hearts. As they continued to decipher the symbols, a pattern began to emerge, one that spoke of both greatness and tragedy, of innovation that led to hubris, and ultimately to disaster. Suddenly, as Alara traced her fingers along a particularly intricate design, the air in the chamber shifted. A surge of energy coursed through the walls, and the light brightened, illuminating the symbols in a brilliant glow. The ground beneath them trembled slightly, and Alara felt the unmistakable sensation of being watched once again. "Did you feel that?" Samuel asked, his voice a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Yes," Alara replied, her heart racing. "I think the craft is responding to us. It's as if it wants to share more." She stepped back, her breath catching in her throat as the chamber came alive with movement, the walls vibrating with an energy that resonated deeply within her. The symbols on the walls began to rearrange themselves, shifting and changing in a mesmerizing dance. Alara watched in awe as they formed a coherent message, the energy in the room vibrating with purpose. Suddenly, an image emerged, a vision of a vibrant world, filled with lush landscapes and advanced technologies, bustling cities that pulsed with life. Alara felt a surge of emotion as she witnessed the civilization at its peak, their achievements on full display, their culture thriving in harmony with nature. But as the vision continued, darkness crept in, shadows swallowing the light. The vibrant cities crumbled, and the people turned against one another, driven by greed and the insatiable desire for power. The image faded into chaos, and the chamber fell silent, the energy dissipating like smoke in the wind. A chill ran through Alara, a stark reminder of the fragility of civilization. Alara stood breathless, her heart pounding in her chest. "We need to understand this," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "They reached for greatness, but their ambition led to their downfall. We must learn from this and ensure that we do not let history repeat itself." Maya stepped forward, her eyes wide with understanding. "This is a warning. We have to ensure that we don't let our desire for knowledge lead us down the same path. We must use what we learn to guide humanity, not to dominate it." There was a fierce determination in her voice, and Alara could see the fire of conviction burning brightly within her. Samuel nodded, his expression grave. "We need to find a way to share this message with the world, to make sure that future generations understand the importance of balance and humility in the pursuit of knowledge." The realization of their responsibility weighed heavily on him, but it also ignited a sense of purpose. As they gathered their equipment, Alara felt a renewed sense of determination. The knowledge they had gained was not just a treasure to be hoarded, it was a responsibility to be shared, a legacy to be honored. They were the keepers of this ancient wisdom, and it was their duty to ensure that the mistakes of the past were not repeated. With their hearts heavy but determined, they ascended back to the surface, the weight of history pressing upon them like the ice surrounding their research station. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but they were ready to face whatever lay ahead. As they emerged into the blinding sunlight, the Antarctic landscape stretched out before them, vast and unyielding. The white expanse seemed endless, and Elara took a deep breath, feeling the crisp air fill her lungs. "We have a mission now," she said, her voice steady. "We need to document everything we've learned and share it with the world." Maya and Samuel nodded, their expressions resolute. They had witnessed something extraordinary, and now they were bound by a shared purpose to honor the past and ensure a brighter future. As they made their way back to the research station, the pulse of the ancient craft echoed in their hearts, a constant reminder of the knowledge they had gained and the legacy they were destined to uphold. They were ready to embrace the unknown, determined to unlock the secrets that lay hidden beneath the ice and share the truth with humanity. Upon returning to the station, Elara immediately set up a meeting with the rest of their team. She could feel the energy in the air, a mix of anticipation and anxiety, as they gathered around the large central table, laden with maps, notes, and the equipment they had used in their exploration. Everyone was eager to hear about the revelations from the chamber, their eyes sparkling with curiosity. "We've made significant progress," Elara began, her voice clear and confident. "What we discovered in the chamber is just the tip of the iceberg. The symbols and energy readings indicate a complex civilization that once thrived here, but their story is intertwined with cautionary tales of ambition and destruction." Samuel chimed in. "We believe that their technological advancements led to their downfall, and we must tread carefully as we move forward. It's crucial that we learn from their mistakes and ensure that our pursuit of knowledge does not lead us to the same fate," Maya added, her passion evident in her tone. "We have a responsibility to share these findings, not just with our team, but with the world. We must ensure that future generations understand the importance of balance and humility in the pursuit of knowledge." The team listened intently, the weight of their words settling in. Elara could see the gears turning in their minds as they absorbed the implications of what lay ahead. This was not just an expedition to uncover the past, it was a mission to safeguard the future. As the meeting progressed, they discussed their next steps, brainstorming ways to document their findings and share them with the scientific community. They considered publishing their research, organizing a conference, and even reaching out to influential figures who could help amplify their message. The energy in the room was electric, a shared sense of purpose binding them together. Elara felt a surge of hope and determination. They were not just explorers, they were ambassadors of a lost civilization, tasked with ensuring that its legacy would not be forgotten. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but they were ready to face whatever lay ahead. With their plans in motion, the team worked late into the night, fueled by passion and adrenaline. Elara felt a renewed sense of purpose as she typed away at her computer, documenting their findings and crafting a narrative that would honor the ancient beings and their wisdom. As the first rays of dawn broke over the icy landscape, Elara stepped outside for a moment of reflection. The world was breathtaking, the sun casting a golden glow over the snow, illuminating the ice crystals that sparkled like diamonds. She took a deep breath, the crisp air filling her lungs, and felt a sense of peace wash over her. In that moment, she understood the gravity of their mission. They were not just unearthing the past, they were rewriting the future. She felt a connection to the beings who had once thrived in this desolate land, a bond that transcended time and space. Their legacy would live on through her and her team, and she was determined to honor that legacy with every fiber of her being. As the sun rose higher in the sky, Elara returned to the station, ready to face the challenges ahead. They had embarked on a journey of discovery that would test their resolve and challenge everything they thought they knew about themselves and the universe. But together, they were prepared to embrace the unknown, driven by a shared vision of a better future. The weeks that followed their momentous discoveries were a whirlwind of activity and collaboration. Elara, Samuel, and Maya, along with their dedicated research team, became consumed by their mission to uncover and share the knowledge of the ancient civilization that once thrived in the icy expanse of Antarctica. The research station, once a quiet outpost in the vast wilderness, now buzzed with energy and excitement as they worked tirelessly, driven by a shared sense of purpose and the weight of their responsibility. Each day brought new insights, and the team delved deeper into the mysteries of the craft. They meticulously analyzed the symbols they had discovered, cross-referencing their interpretations with the energy readings and environmental data they had collected during their explorations. Elara often found herself lost in thought, contemplating the philosophical implications of their findings. The patterns spoke of ambition, innovation, and ultimately, caution and narrative woven through time that resonated deeply with her own experiences and aspirations. One chilly morning, as frost clung to the windows of the station, Elara gathered the team for another briefing. The air inside was filled with the warmth of camaraderie, but a sense of urgency lingered beneath the surface. They were on the brink of something groundbreaking, and the pressure to succeed weighed heavily on their shoulders. "All right, everyone," Elara began, her voice steady and resolute as she addressed her colleagues. "We've made significant headway in decoding the symbols and understanding their implications. Today, I want us to focus on synthesizing our findings into a cohesive narrative that we can present to the scientific community. We need to be clear about the lessons we've learned and the warnings we intend to convey." Samuel nodded in agreement, his brow furrowed in concentration as he flipped through his notes. "The story of this civilization is one of great potential, tempered by caution. We need to highlight the importance of balance in technological advancement. It's not just about what they achieved, but also about what they lost in the process." Maya chimed in, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. "And we must emphasize the need for ethical considerations in our pursuit of knowledge. The beings entrusted us with their legacy, and it's our duty to ensure it continues. We have to make sure that their story serves as a beacon for the future." With renewed determination, the team split into smaller groups, each tasked with different aspects of their presentation. Some focused on compiling data and visuals, while others worked on crafting the narrative that would accompany their findings. The atmosphere in the station was electric, a palpable sense of collaboration fueling their creativity and ambition. As the days turned into weeks, Elara found herself reflecting on the deeper meanings behind their work. The ancient beings had warned them about the dangers of unchecked ambition, and she realized that their discoveries were not merely historical artifacts. They were profound lessons that could shape the future of humanity. The weight of this realization pressed down on her, but it also ignited a fierce resolve within her. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in shades of pink and orange, Elara stood at the edge of the research station, gazing out at the endless expanse of ice. The beauty of the landscape was breathtaking, but it was the silence that resonated most deeply with her. This land had once been home to a vibrant civilization, and now it was a vast, desolate wilderness. She felt a pang of sorrow for the beings who had come before, their stories frozen in time, waiting to be told and understood. "Hey, Elara," Samuel called, breaking her reverie. He approached her with a notebook in hand, his expression thoughtful and contemplative. "I've been working on a section about their technological advancements. I think it's crucial to illustrate how their innovations were initially beneficial, but eventually led to their downfall. What do you think?" Elara turned to him, appreciating the earnestness in his eyes. "That's an important angle. We need to show that technological progress doesn't inherently equate to wisdom. It's the choices we make along the way that define our legacy. We must also consider how their advancements might parallel our current trajectory." Samuel nodded, taking a moment to absorb her words. "Absolutely. If we can draw parallels to modern technological challenges, it might resonate more deeply with our audience. We need to ensure they understand the urgency of our message." They stood in companionable silence for a moment, both lost in their thoughts about what lay ahead. The weight of their discoveries was heavy, but it was also exhilarating. They were on the cusp of revealing truths that could change the course of history, and the responsibility felt monumental. As the team continued their preparations for the conference, they began to receive inquiries from scientists and journalists around the world, eager to learn more about their findings. Elara felt a mix of excitement and anxiety as the date approached. They were about to share their story with a global audience, and she hoped they could convey the urgency of their message with the clarity and depth it deserved. Finally, the day of the conference arrived. The research station had been transformed into a hub of activity as they set up for the presentations. Elara's heart raced as she stood in front of the assembled audience, a mix of esteemed scientists, journalists, and curious minds eager to hear about their groundbreaking findings. The room buzzed with anticipation, and she could feel the weight of their expectations pressing down on her shoulders. "Welcome, everyone," Elara began, her voice steady despite the nerves fluttering in her stomach. "Today, We gather not only to share our discoveries, but to honor the legacy of an ancient civilization that once thrived in this unforgiving landscape. Their story is one of brilliance and caution, a tale that speaks to the heart of what it means to be human. As she spoke, she could feel the room leaning in, captivated by her words. She shared their journey of discovery, detailing their encounters in the chamber, the symbols they had deciphered, and the warnings that had echoed through time. The visuals displayed behind her painted a vivid picture of the civilization's rise and fall, depicting their technological marvels and the consequences of their ambition. Samuel and Maya joined her at the front, each taking turns to elaborate on specific aspects of their findings. The audience was rapt, their expressions a mix of fascination and concern as the team laid bare the lessons learned from the ancient beings. Their advancements in technology were initially beneficial, Samuel explained, his tone earnest and serious. But as they sought to master the forces of the universe, they lost sight of the delicate balance that sustains existence. We must heed their warning and ensure that we do not allow our pursuit of knowledge to lead us down the same path. Maya added, her voice passionate and resolute. It is our responsibility to approach scientific progress with humility and ethical considerations. The beings entrusted us with their legacy, and we must honor it by guiding future generations toward a path of coexistence and ability, respect for our planet. As they concluded their presentation, Elara felt a surge of hope and accomplishment. They had shared not just their findings, but also a call to action, a plea for a more thoughtful and responsible approach to the future of humanity. The room erupted in applause, and tears pricked at the corners of Elara's eyes, overwhelmed by the response. It was a moment of validation, a recognition that their work mattered. After the presentation, the team fielded questions from the audience, engaging in passionate discussions about their findings and the implications for the future. Elara felt a sense of camaraderie with the audience, a collective understanding of the importance of their message. Each question posed was a reminder of the curiosity and thirst for knowledge that connected them all. As the day drew to a close, Elara found a moment to step outside, seeking solace in the chilly evening air. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the ice, and she breathed deeply, grounding herself in the beauty of the moment. The world felt both vast and intimate, a reminder of the interconnectedness of all things. Suddenly, she felt a familiar presence beside her. It was Samuel, his expression contemplative. "We did it, Elara," he said, a smile breaking across his face. We shared their story, we honored their legacy, and the audience was genuinely engaged. "Yes, we did," she replied, feeling a swell of pride. "But this is just the beginning. We need to keep this conversation going, to ensure that their lessons are not forgotten. We owe it to them and to ourselves." As they stood together, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Elara felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had been given a chance to shape the future, to guide humanity toward a path of wisdom and understanding. The echoes of the past would continue to resonate, reminding them of the delicate balance that existed between knowledge and responsibility. "We'll continue to share their story," she said, her voice steady with conviction. "We owe it to the beings who came before us and to the generations that will follow." With that, they turned back toward the research station, ready to face the challenges ahead, united by a shared vision of a brighter future. Elara knew that their journey was far from over. It was merely the beginning of a larger mission to ensure that the lessons of the past would inform the choices of the future. As they entered the station, the atmosphere was filled with a mix of excitement and reflection. Colleagues congratulated them on their presentation, and the energy in the room was palpable. Discussions erupted about the next steps, the team eager to explore the implications of their findings further. "Let's think about how we can expand our research," Maya suggested, her enthusiasm infectious. "We should consider reaching out to other scientific communities, perhaps even forming collaborations that could help us delve deeper into the knowledge we've uncovered." Elara nodded in agreement. "That's an excellent idea. We need to build a network of like-minded individuals who are committed to ethical and responsible science. The more we share, the more we can learn from each other." Samuel chimed in. "We could also look into publishing our findings in scientific journals and presenting at more conferences. The world needs to hear this message, and we have the opportunity to lead that conversation." As they brainstormed, Elara felt a sense of unity and purpose envelop the team. They were not just researchers. They were ambassadors of a vital message, tasked with ensuring that the lessons of the past guided the future. The bonds forged during their journey were strong, and together they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the weeks that followed, Ilara and her team embarked on a mission to share their findings with the world. They reached out to influential scientists, environmentalists, and governmental organizations, emphasizing the importance of their discoveries and the urgent need for responsible stewardship of knowledge. Their efforts were met with enthusiasm and support, and soon they found themselves at the center of a burgeoning movement, a coalition of individuals and organizations dedicated to ethical scientific exploration. Ilara often reflected on how far they had come since their initial discovery. The journey had transformed them, deepening their understanding of the interplay between knowledge and responsibility. The ancient beings had entrusted them with their legacy, and now it was their duty to ensure it would not be forgotten. As winter gave way to spring, Ilara felt a renewed sense of hope for the future. The world was awakening, and with it came opportunities for change. She and her team remained vigilant, committed to their mission, ready to embrace the challenges that lay ahead. As spring unfolded over the Antarctic landscape, it brought with it a sense of renewal and possibility. The ice began to melt, revealing hidden wonders and the stark beauty of the environment. Ilara, Samuel, and Maya found themselves at the forefront of a burgeoning movement, their discoveries igniting conversations around the world about the delicate balance between technological advancement and ethical responsibility. In the weeks following their groundbreaking presentation, the team had been inundated with invitations to speak at conferences and symposiums. They traveled to various research institutions, universities, and environmental forums, sharing their findings and advocating for a future shaped by wisdom and caution. Each presentation was met with a mix of enthusiasm and skepticism, but Ilara remained steadfast in her belief that their message was crucial. One particularly rainy day, while preparing for a lecture at a prestigious university, Ilara and her team gathered in their makeshift conference room at the research station, surrounded by papers, charts, and multimedia presentations. The atmosphere was tense but electric with anticipation, the air thick with the scent of coffee and the sound of rustling papers. "Today's lecture is important," Ilara said, her voice steady as she addressed her colleagues. "This isn't just about sharing our findings. It's about inspiring a new generation of scientists and leaders to think critically about the implications of their work. We need to emphasize that our pursuit of knowledge must be matched by ethical considerations." "The stakes have never been higher," Maya nodded, her expression serious. "We've seen the consequences of neglecting that balance in the story of the ancient civilization. Their downfall is a cautionary tale that must resonate with our audience. It's our responsibility to ensure history doesn't repeat itself." As they prepared for the lecture, Ilara felt the familiar mix of excitement and nerves. She had always loved speaking to audiences, but this felt different. The weight of their discoveries pressed upon her, and she knew that the world was watching. They were messengers of a vital narrative, and she wanted to make every word count. When they arrived at the university, the auditorium was packed. Students, professors, and community members filled the seats, their eyes eager and expectant. Ilara took a deep breath as she stepped onto the stage, her heart racing. This was her moment to connect with the audience, to convey the urgency of their message. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice resonating through the hall. "We stand at a crossroads. The discoveries we've made in Antarctica are not just about an ancient civilization. They are a mirror reflecting our own society's challenges and choices. In a world where technology evolves at an unprecedented pace, we must pause and consider the implications of our advancements." As she spoke, she felt the energy in the room shift. The audience was engaged, leaning in as she shared the story of the ancient beings, their rise, their technological advancements, and ultimately, their downfall. She painted a vivid picture of their civilization, using visuals and narratives that captured the imagination, drawing parallels between their experiences and contemporary issues. "Our message is clear," Ilara continued, her passion igniting the air around her. "Knowledge is a powerful tool, but it must be wielded with care and foresight. The ancient beings reached for the stars, but in their ambition, they lost sight of the very essence of existence, the balance between progress and sustainability. We must not allow our desire for advancement to cloud our judgment." The room erupted in applause, and Ilara felt a surge of hope. She had connected with them, and she could see the spark of inspiration in their eyes. After the lecture, the questions poured in, each one reflecting the audience's desire to engage with the ideas she had presented. One student raised her hand, her voice steady and clear. What practical steps can we take as future scientists and leaders to ensure that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past? Alara smiled, grateful for the question. It starts with education and awareness. We must advocate for interdisciplinary approaches that combine scientific inquiry with ethics, environmental stewardship, and social responsibility. Engage in discussions, challenge assumptions, and collaborate with others across sectors. It's about recognizing that our actions have consequences and that we are part of a larger ecosystem. As the discussion continued, Alara felt a sense of camaraderie with the audience, a shared commitment to a better future. After the lecture, many attendees approached her and her team, eager to share their thoughts and ideas. The conversations flowed late into the evening, and Alara was invigorated by the passion surrounding her. Each interaction felt like a thread weaving them into a larger tapestry of hope and determination. But amid the excitement, Alara was acutely aware of the challenges they faced. Not everyone was on board with their message. Some stakeholders in the scientific community were resistant, clinging to traditional paradigms that prioritized rapid advancement without consideration for ethical implications. Alara knew they would need to navigate these tensions carefully. Back at the research station, the team regrouped after their whirlwind tour. They gathered around a table strewn with notes and feedback from their lectures, each piece of paper a testament to the conversations they had sparked. Maya broke the silence, her brow furrowed in thought. I feel like we're making an impact, but I'm also worried about the pushback we might face. Some people won't want to hear what we have to say. Samuel leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. That's true, but we can't let that deter us. The stakes are too high. We need to be prepared for resistance and counter-arguments. We can't shy away from difficult conversations. We have a responsibility to challenge the status quo. Alara nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. We need to develop a strategy for addressing skepticism. We should compile a comprehensive report detailing our findings, the implications, and case studies that demonstrate the importance of ethical considerations in science. This could serve as a resource for those who are uncertain about our message. The team spent the next few weeks diligently compiling their research into a detailed report. They included examples from their own findings, historical precedents, and current case studies that illustrated the consequences of neglecting ethical considerations in scientific advancement. The document became a labor of love, a culmination of their collective efforts and insights. As they worked, Alara found herself reflecting on the broader implications of their mission. It was not just about the ancient civilization or their discoveries. It was about fostering a culture of responsibility and awareness in the scientific community. They were advocating for a shift in mindset, one that recognized the interconnectedness of knowledge, ethics, and sustainability. One afternoon, while reviewing the final draft of their report, Alara received an unexpected email from a prominent environmental organization. The subject line read, "Invitation to collaborate on a global initiative." Intrigued, she opened the message, her heart racing as she read the contents. The organization was interested in partnering with them to launch a global initiative aimed at promoting ethical, scientific practices and sustainable development. They wanted Alara and her team to be key speakers at an upcoming international conference on climate change and technology. This was an incredible opportunity to amplify their message and reach a wider audience. Alara immediately shared the news with Samuel and Maya. "This could be a game changer for us," she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "We need to seize this opportunity to advocate for ethical practices on a global scale." Samuel smiled, his enthusiasm evident. "This could help us connect with other leaders and organizations that share our vision. We need to prepare thoroughly and present a united front. This is our chance to make a significant impact." Maya nodded, her expression serious but determined. "We should use this platform to emphasize the lessons we've learned from the ancient civilization and the importance of integrating ethics into science and technology. We can't let this moment pass us by." As they prepared for the conference, Alara felt a sense of urgency and purpose. This was their chance to make a lasting impact, to advocate for a future where knowledge was pursued with integrity and responsibility. They dove headfirst into their preparations, crafting presentations, gathering evidence, and honing their arguments. The day of the conference arrived, and Ilara stood before a vast audience in a grand auditorium filled with scientists, policymakers, and activists from around the world. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, and Ilara felt a rush of adrenaline as she took the stage. The lights dimmed, and a hush fell over the crowd. Today, we gather not just to discuss technology and climate change, but to reflect on our collective responsibility as stewards of this planet, she began, her voice steady and resonant. We must learn from the past and understand that our pursuit of knowledge must be tempered with ethical considerations. The echoes of an ancient civilization remind us of the consequences of unchecked ambition. As she spoke, Ilara could see the audience leaning in, captivated by her words. The room was filled with a diverse array of perspectives, and she felt a profound sense of connection with the individuals present. They were all united by a common goal, the desire to create a better future for the planet. Throughout the conference, Ilara and her team engaged in discussions about sustainable practices, ethical frameworks in scientific research, and the importance of collaboration across disciplines. They shared their findings, emphasizing the need for a paradigm shift in how society approached scientific advancement. The conversations were rich and varied, with voices from different backgrounds contributing to a tapestry of ideas and solutions. As the conference drew to a close, Ilara felt a renewed sense of hope. The conversations they had sparked were just the beginning. She knew that their message was resonating, and she was determined to continue advocating for a future rooted in responsibility and ethical stewardship. After the conference, as they celebrated their successes and discussed their next steps, Ilara felt a sense of unity with her team. They had embarked on a journey that had transformed them, deepening their understanding of the interplay between knowledge and responsibility. Together, they were ready to navigate the uncharted waters ahead, driven by a shared vision of a brighter future. As the sun set over the Antarctic horizon, Ilara stood outside the research station, gazing at the stars that sparkled above. The universe felt vast and full of possibilities, and she felt a deep sense of purpose wash over her. They were not just keepers of a forgotten legacy, they were pioneers of a movement that could shape the future. "Here's to the journey ahead," she whispered to the night sky, her heart filled with hope. "May we continue to learn, to grow, and to advocate for a world where knowledge is pursued with integrity and respect for all living beings." As she turned to head back inside, she felt a sense of determination coursing through her veins. The path ahead would not be easy, but she knew that they were not alone. They had each other, and they had a mission that transcended their individual aspirations. Together, they would forge a new path, one that honored the past while striving for a better future. With the arrival of summer in Antarctica, the landscape transformed dramatically. The icebergs, which had stood sentinel for eons, began to crack and shift, releasing their frozen secrets into the ocean. The research station, once a solitary outpost in the desolate wilderness, now buzzed with activity, becoming a vibrant hub of collaboration as scientists from various disciplines converged to tackle the pressing issues of climate change and ethical scientific practices. Ilara, Samuel, and Maya found themselves at the center of this movement, their discoveries igniting conversations and inspiring action across the globe. The global initiative they had partnered with was gaining momentum, attracting attention from prominent environmental organizations, government agencies, and academic institutions. Ilara felt a swell of urgency and excitement as they prepared for the next phase of their mission. They were scheduled to present at an international summit focused on climate action, an unparalleled opportunity to engage with world leaders and influence policy decisions that could shape the future of the planet. As the date of the summit approached, Ilara and her team were consumed by preparations. They gathered data, refined their arguments, and crafted compelling narratives that highlighted the interconnectedness of science, ethics, and sustainability. Their meticulously compiled report had gained traction, serving as a foundational document for discussions at the summit, and they were determined to ensure their message reached every corner of the audience. One morning, as they convened for a strategy session in their makeshift conference room, Ilara noticed a subtle but palpable tension in the air. Samuel was pacing back and forth, his brow furrowed in thought. "We need to be prepared for the unexpected," he said, stopping to face the team, his voice tinged with seriousness. "While we're excited about this opportunity, we also need to anticipate resistance from those who may feel threatened by our message." Not everyone will be on board with advocating for ethical practices in science. Maya nodded in agreement, her expression serious as she leaned forward. We must be ready to counter arguments that dismiss the need for ethical considerations in scientific advancement. The stakes are far too high to allow complacency or denial to derail our message. Our findings are not just academic, they are a call to arms. Alara took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their responsibilities settle on her shoulders. We will also have to emphasize the urgency of the situation. Climate change is no longer a distant threat. It is here and now, affecting lives and ecosystems worldwide. We need to convey that the choices we make today will determine the future of our planet and the legacy we leave for generations to come. As they worked, the team felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. They knew that the summit would be a critical moment not only for their mission, but also for the future of scientific exploration and environmental stewardship. The stakes were high, and Alara felt the pressure mounting with every passing day. The day of the summit finally arrived, and Alara stood in front of a large audience at a sprawling convention center. The room was filled with delegates from around the world, each representing different nations, organizations, and perspectives. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, and Alara's heart raced as she took her place at the podium, the weight of her mission pressing down on her. Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, and advocates for our planet, she began, her voice steady as she addressed the crowd. We gather here today, not just as representatives of our respective countries, but as stewards of a shared future. The choices we make in the face of climate change will resonate through generations, shaping the world we leave behind. As Alara spoke, she could feel the energy in the room shift. The audience was captivated, their attention focused on her as she detailed the lessons learned from the ancient civilization they had studied. She articulated how their pursuit of knowledge had ultimately led to their downfall when ethical considerations were disregarded. Our message is not just a cautionary tale, Alara continued, her passion igniting the air around her. It is a call to action. We have the knowledge, the tools, and the capacity to create a sustainable future. But we must act with integrity and foresight. We must prioritize ethical practices in our scientific endeavors and ensure that our advancements serve humanity and the planet. The room erupted in applause, and Alara felt a surge of hope and achievement. She could see delegates discussing her words, some nodding in agreement, while others appeared contemplative. The seeds of change were being planted, and she felt invigorated by the potential for collaboration. Throughout the summit, Alara and her team participated in panel discussions, workshops, and networking sessions. They engaged with a diverse array of scientists, policymakers, and activists, sharing their insights and learning from others' experiences. The conversations were rich and varied, filled with ideas for collaborative projects and innovative solutions to pressing environmental challenges. However, amidst the optimism, Alara sensed an undercurrent of tension. Some delegates, particularly those representing industries that had historically prioritized profit over sustainability, seemed resistant to the idea of implementing strict ethical guidelines in scientific research. Alara knew that navigating these conversations would require a delicate balance of diplomacy and conviction. During a breakout session focused on the role of technology in climate action, a representative from a prominent fossil fuel company challenged Alara's stance. With all due respect, Miss Alara, while your concerns about ethics are valid, we must also consider the economic implications of stringent regulations. The world needs energy, and transitioning away from fossil fuels is not as simple as you suggest. People rely on these industries for their livelihoods. Alara felt her heart race, but she remained poised, drawing on her training and experience. I understand the complexities of the energy landscape and the economic realities involved, but we cannot prioritize short-term gains over long-term sustainability. The consequences of inaction are far more detrimental than the challenges of transitioning to renewable energy sources. We must find a way to innovate that respects both our economic needs and our ethical obligations to the planet. The representative appeared taken aback by her response, and several audience members nodded in agreement. Alara felt a rush of adrenaline as the dialogue continued, knowing she was making an impact. The discussions were fierce but necessary, and she felt invigorated by the opportunity to engage with diverse perspectives. As the summit progressed, Alara's team received positive feedback from delegates who were eager to collaborate on initiatives that aligned with their vision. They began to formulate plans for joint research projects policy advocacy, and educational outreach, aiming to foster a global network of scientists and leaders committed to ethical practices. The excitement of possibility filled the air as they exchanged contact information and brainstormed ideas for future collaborations. However, as they celebrated their successes, Ilara remained mindful of the challenges ahead. The world was changing rapidly, but so were the forces resisting that change. She had witnessed firsthand the reluctance of some to embrace a new paradigm, and she knew that their mission was far from over. It would require sustained effort, resilience, and a commitment to engaging with those who held differing views. In the final hours of the summit, Ilara and her team gathered to reflect on their experiences. They shared stories of inspiration, hope, and determination, each one contributing to a growing sense of unity. The atmosphere was electric, filled with a collective determination to continue the work they had begun. They recognized that they were part of a larger movement, one that was gaining traction and momentum. "We've made significant strides," Maya said, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. "But we need to keep the momentum going. We must continue to engage with those who may not see things our way and demonstrate that ethical practices can lead to innovative solutions. We need to emphasize that our ideas are not just theoretical, they can be implemented in real-world scenarios." Samuel nodded, his expression thoughtful. "We should also consider how to leverage social media and public engagement to amplify our message. We have a unique opportunity to reach a broader audience and inspire action beyond the confines of academia and government. We can create campaigns that resonate with the public and encourage them to advocate for sustainable practices in their own communities." Ilara felt a surge of excitement at the prospect. "That's a brilliant idea. We can create campaigns that tell the stories of those affected by climate change, showcasing the real-world impact of our choices. By humanizing the issue, we can foster empathy and understanding, motivating people to take action." As they discussed their next steps, Ilara felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were not just researchers, they were advocates for a movement that sought to reshape the future. The journey ahead would be challenging, but she knew they were equipped with the knowledge, passion, and determination to make a difference. As the summit concluded, Ilara stood outside the convention center, gazing at the horizon where the sun dipped below the clouds, casting a warm glow across the sky. She felt a sense of hope and possibility wash over her. The world was awakening to the urgency of their message, and she was determined to be part of the change. The horizon felt like a promise of new beginnings, where challenges could be met with enthusiasm and determination. "Here's to the journey ahead," she whispered to the fading light. "May we continue to learn, to grow, and to advocate for a world where knowledge is pursued with integrity and respect for all living beings. Together, we can cultivate a future that honors the past while embracing the potential of tomorrow." With her heart full of hope and determination, Ilara turned back to her team, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would navigate the gathering storm and work towards a brighter, more sustainable future, armed with the knowledge that their efforts could inspire change on a global scale. They were not just part of a conversation. They were catalysts for a movement that could reshape the narrative of science and ethics, leading to a more harmonious relationship with the planet. As they walked back to the research station, the stars began to twinkle in the clear Antarctic sky, each one a reminder of the vastness of their mission and the importance of their work. Ilara felt a sense of camaraderie with her team. They were united by a common purpose, each step they took resonating with the hope of a brighter tomorrow. As the sun began to rise over the Antarctic horizon, casting long, golden shadows across the research station, Ilara felt a renewed sense of purpose surge within her. The recent summit had ignited a fire in her and her team, fueling their commitment to advocate for ethical scientific practices in the face of climate change. However, the journey that lay ahead was fraught with challenges, and they would soon find themselves at a critical crossroads, one that would demand courage, resilience, and conviction. In the weeks following the summit, the team returned to their research station, where they focused intently on developing actionable strategies to implement their vision. The discussions they had sparked at the summit had resonated with many, but Ilara knew that translating their ambitious ideas into tangible actions would require careful planning, collaboration, and an unwavering commitment to their goals. One crisp morning, as the wind howled outside and snowflakes danced in the air, Ilara gathered her team around the large conference table in the main room. The walls were adorned with colourful charts, photographs of their findings, and inspirational quotes about science and ethics. The atmosphere was charged with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "We've made great strides," she began, her voice filled with determination. "But now we need to solidify our next steps. We have a unique opportunity to influence policy and drive meaningful change, but we must act decisively and strategically." Maya, her face flushed with enthusiasm, nodded vigorously. "I completely agree. We should focus on the partnerships we established at the summit. Engaging with those organizations could help us amplify our message and provide valuable resources for our initiatives. We need to create a comprehensive plan that includes outreach, education, and concrete projects that align with our overarching goals." Samuel leaned back in his chair, deep in thought. The weight of their mission was evident on his brow. "I think it's crucial to consider the potential backlash we might face. Some industries could perceive our message as a threat, especially those that rely heavily on fossil fuels. We must be strategic in the way we present our findings and proposals to. Avoid alienating potential allies. Building bridges, rather than walls, will be key to our success." Ilara paused, weighing Samuel's words carefully. "You're absolutely right. We need to approach this initiative with both conviction and diplomacy. Our ultimate goal is to foster collaboration, not create further division. Perhaps we can start by organizing a series of roundtable discussions that include diverse stakeholders, scientists, industry leaders, policymakers, and community representatives. This could create a platform for dialogue, allowing us to address concerns and find common ground." As they continued to brainstorm, Ilara felt a surge of urgency. The clock was ticking, and climate change was not waiting for anyone. She recalled the stories of the ancient civilization they had studied. Their rapid advancements had led to their downfall because they had failed to heed the warning signs. They could not afford to make the same mistake. The lessons of the past echoed in her mind, reminding her of the dire consequences that could arise from ignoring the balance between progress and sustainability. "Let's put together a timeline," Ilara suggested, her enthusiasm growing with each passing moment. "We can outline our objectives for the next 6 months, including partnership outreach, public engagement campaigns, and educational initiatives. This will help us stay focused and accountable, ensuring we make the most of this pivotal moment." Over the next few days, the team worked tirelessly to create a comprehensive plan. They reached out to potential partners, outlined their goals, and prepared educational materials that conveyed their message clearly and compellingly. The atmosphere in the research station was electric, filled with the promise of what was to come. Each member of the team contributed their unique skills, and together they wove a vision that was as ambitious as it was necessary. As they prepared for their first roundtable discussion, Ilara felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. The invitation list included representatives from various sectors, some who had been staunch advocates for environmental sustainability, and others who represented industries that had historically resisted change. She understood that this would be a challenging but necessary step toward fostering collaboration and understanding. The day of the roundtable arrived, and Ilara stood at the front of the conference room, her heart racing with anticipation. Delegates from different organizations filled the seats, their expressions a blend of curiosity and skepticism. Ilara took a deep breath, steadying herself as she welcomed everyone. "Thank you all for being here today. We are at a crucial point in our global response to climate change, and it will take collaboration across all sectors to create meaningful change." As the discussions unfolded, Ilara skillfully facilitated conversations around ethical practices in scientific research, the importance of sustainability, and the potential for innovation. She encouraged open dialogue, allowing participants to voice their concerns and ideas. Gradually, the tension in the room began to dissipate as people started to engage with one another and explore the possibilities for collaboration. However, as anticipated, not everyone was receptive to the idea of change. A representative from a major fossil fuel company voiced strong objections, his tone defensive. "While I appreciate the need for sustainability, we also have to consider economic realities," he stated firmly. "Transitioning away from fossil fuels will have dire consequences for jobs, energy security, and the livelihoods of countless individuals. We cannot simply abandon the industries that have powered our economies for decades." Ilara listened intently, recognizing the importance of addressing these concerns head-on. "I understand the complexities of the energy landscape and the Yenboke," economic realities involved, but we cannot prioritize short-term gains over long-term sustainability, she countered, her voice calm but assertive. The consequences of inaction are far more detrimental than the challenges of transitioning to renewable energy sources. By investing in these alternatives, we can create new jobs and industries that benefit both the economy and our planet for generations to come. The representative appeared taken aback by her response, and several audience members nodded in agreement. Alara felt a rush of adrenaline as the dialogue continued, knowing she was making an impact. The discussions were fierce but necessary, and she felt invigorated by the opportunity to engage with diverse perspectives. As the summit progressed, Elara's team received positive feedback from delegates eager to collaborate on initiatives that aligned with their vision. They began to formulate plans for joint research projects, policy advocacy, and educational outreach, aiming to foster a global network of scientists and leaders committed to ethical practices. The excitement of possibility filled the air as they exchanged contact information and brainstormed ideas for future collaborations. However, as they celebrated their successes, Elara remained mindful of the challenges ahead. The world was changing rapidly, but so were the forces resisting that change. She had witnessed firsthand the reluctance of some to embrace a new paradigm, and she knew that their mission was far from over. It would require sustained effort, resilience, and a commitment to engaging with those who held differing views. In the final hours of the round table, Elara and her team gathered to debrief. "I think we made some real progress today," Maya said, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "There were definitely some tough moments, but we opened the door to dialogue, and that's a significant step forward. We need to keep building on that momentum." Samuel agreed, his tone thoughtful. "We may not have changed everyone's minds, but we planted seeds of thought. The key now is to follow up and keep the conversation going. We need to build on this momentum and ensure that we continue to engage with those who are hesitant to embrace change." Elara nodded, feeling a renewed sense of determination. "Let's schedule more roundtable discussions and create a series of workshops that allow for deeper exploration of these topics. We can invite experts to speak on renewable energy, sustainability practices, and ethical frameworks in science. This way, we can equip participants with the knowledge they need to advocate for change within their own organizations and communities." Over the next few months, Elara and her team organized a series of events inviting diverse stakeholders to engage in meaningful dialogue about the future of science and ethics. They partnered with local universities, environmental organizations, and industry leaders, creating a network of advocates committed to fostering collaboration. The response was overwhelmingly positive as participants began to share their success stories, illustrating how ethical practices and sustainability initiatives had benefited their organizations and communities. Elara felt invigorated by the progress they were making. She could see that their message was resonating, and the seeds they had planted were beginning to sprout. However, as they forged ahead, challenges continued to arise. Media scrutiny increased, with some outlets questioning their motives and the feasibility of their proposals. Elara knew that they needed to address these concerns head-on. She called for a press conference to clarify their mission and emphasize the importance of ethical practices in science. The day of the press conference arrived, and Elara stood before a sea of reporters, cameras flashing as she took the podium. "Thank you all for being here today. We understand that the challenges we face are significant, but we believe that through collaboration, innovation, and a commitment to ethical practices, we can create a sustainable future for our planet. Our aim is not to vilify any industry or individual, but to foster an inclusive dialogue about our shared responsibility to protect the environment while also ensuring economic stability." As she spoke, Elara felt the weight of her words. She was not just representing her team, she was representing a movement that sought to redefine the relationship between science and ethics. Her voice was steady, and she spoke with conviction, hoping to inspire action and understanding. The questions from the press were intense, but Elara remained poised, responding thoughtfully and transparently. After the press conference, Elara felt a sense of relief. They had taken a bold step forward, and while challenges still loomed, she knew that they were making a difference. The journey ahead would be long and arduous, but she was determined to see it through. Every conversation, every workshop, and every press event was a step toward building a more sustainable future. As the days turned into weeks, Alara and her team continued to engage with stakeholders, building a coalition of advocates who shared their vision. They organized community events, educational outreach programs, and collaborative research projects, all aimed at fostering a culture of responsibility and awareness in the scientific community. The response from the public was overwhelmingly positive, with individuals expressing their desire to participate and contribute to the cause. Through it all, Alara reflected on the lessons learned from the ancient civilization they had studied. Their story served as a constant reminder of the consequences of unchecked ambition and the importance of ethical stewardship. She felt a deep sense of responsibility to honor that legacy by advocating for a future where knowledge was pursued with integrity and respect for all living beings. One evening, as Alara stood outside the research station, gazing at the stars that twinkled in the clear Antarctic sky, she felt a profound sense of hope. The universe felt vast and full of possibilities, and she knew that they were part of something much larger than themselves. Together, they were navigating the crossroads of decision, and she was committed to forging a path toward a brighter, more sustainable future. "Here's to the journey ahead," she whispered to the night sky, her heart filled with determination. "May we continue to learn, to grow, and to advocate for a world where science serves humanity and the planet." With her heart full of hope and resolve, Alara turned back to the station, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They had embarked on a mission that transcended their individual aspirations, and together they would work tirelessly to ensure that the lessons of the past informed their actions for the future. Each step they took was a testament to their commitment to ethical practices in science, and Alara was determined. In the weeks following their successful roundtable discussions and press conference, Alara and her team felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had made significant strides in building a coalition of advocates committed to ethical practices in science and sustainability. However, as they navigated this new territory, they encountered the inevitable echoes of resistance that came from those who felt threatened by change, who were reluctant to embrace the idea of altering long-established practices. The research station buzzed with activity as the team prepared for their next major initiative. A public awareness campaign aimed at educating the broader community about the importance of ethical scientific practices and the urgency of climate action. The campaign was designed to engage not only scientists and policymakers, but also students, educators, and everyday citizens. Alara envisioned a series of workshops, educational materials, and social media outreach that would highlight the interconnectedness of science, ethics, and environmental stewardship. One crisp afternoon, as the wind howled outside and snowflakes danced in the air, Alara gathered her team around the large conference table in the main room. The walls were adorned with colourful charts, photographs of their findings, and inspirational quotes about science and ethics. The atmosphere was charged with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "We need to create something compelling that resonates with people on a personal level," she began, her voice filled with determination. "Let's share stories, real stories of how climate change impacts lives and what individuals can do to make a difference. We can use video testimonials, social media campaigns, and community events to spread our message." Maya, always quick to jump on new ideas, chimed in. "We could partner with local schools to create student-led projects that focus on sustainability. Engaging young people will help foster a sense of responsibility and activism from an early age. We can encourage them to become advocates for change within their communities, making them feel empowered to influence their surroundings positively." Samuel nodded, his expression thoughtful. "That's a great idea, but we also need to be prepared for pushback, especially from industries that may feel threatened by our message. They might see our campaign as an attack rather than an opportunity for collaboration. We should anticipate their concerns and address them proactively." Alara acknowledged his concerns. "Absolutely. We must be strategic in our messaging, emphasizing that we're not here to vilify anyone, but to advocate for a better future for everyone. Our goal is to inspire action, not create division. Let's craft our narrative carefully to ensure it resonates positively across all demographics, demonstrating that ethical practices can lead to innovative solutions rather than stifling progress." As they delved deeper into planning, the team's excitement grew. They brainstormed ideas for workshops, community events, and interactive sessions that would engage the public in meaningful ways. They envisioned a kick-off event that would bring together local leaders, educators, and community members to discuss the importance of ethics in science and sustainability. However, just as they were finalizing their plans, they received an unexpected blow. A major media outlet published a critical article questioning the motives behind their campaign. The headline read, "Are scientists overstepping? The ethics debate in climate activism," and it featured quotes from industry leaders who claimed that the team's initiatives were an affront to economic stability and innovation. The article suggested that Alara and her colleagues were naive and out of touch with the realities of the business world, further fueling the resistance they had anticipated. Alara felt a wave of frustration wash over her as she read the article. "This is exactly what I was worried about," she said, her voice strained. "We're being framed as the enemy when all we want to do is foster collaboration and understanding. This could undermine everything we've worked for and the relationships we've built." Samuel placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We can't let this deter us. Instead, we need to respond proactively. Let's organize a press conference to address these claims directly and clarify our position. We can emphasize that our goal is to work alongside industry leaders, not against them." Maya agreed, her expression resolute. "We need to show the public that we are open to dialogue and collaboration. Let's invite industry representatives to join us at the press conference and share their perspectives. This could help bridge the gap and demonstrate that we're all on the same side when it comes to protecting our planet." With renewed determination, the team set to work on their response. They crafted a statement that emphasized the importance of ethical practices in science and the need for collaboration across all sectors. They highlighted the potential for innovation that could arise from sustainable practices and the benefits for both the environment and the economy. The statement was carefully worded, aiming to diffuse tensions while reinforcing their commitment to ethical stewardship. The day of the press conference arrived, and Alara stood once again at the podium, her heart pounding as she faced the cameras. Beside her were representatives from various sectors, including a prominent figure from the renewable energy industry who had been a vocal supporter of their initiatives. "Thank you all for being here today," Alara began, her voice steady despite the scrutiny. "We understand that the issues surrounding climate change and sustainability are complex and multifaceted. Our mission is to foster collaboration, not confrontation." As she spoke, Alara noticed the attentive expressions of the audience. She shared stories of communities affected by climate change, emphasizing the need for ethical considerations in scientific advancement. "We believe that by working together, we can find solutions that benefit both the economy and the environment. It is not a matter of choosing one over the other. Rather, it is about integrating ethical practices into our scientific endeavors to create a sustainable future for all." The representative from the renewable energy sector took the microphone next, sharing his company's success in transitioning to sustainable practices and how it had not only reduced their carbon footprint, but also created jobs and increased profitability. "We're living proof that sustainability and economic success can go hand in hand," he stated passionately. "It's time to shift the narrative and recognize that ethical practices are not a hindrance, but an opportunity for growth." The dynamic atmosphere of the press conference was palpable. Questions flew from reporters, some supportive and others skeptical. Alara and the representative handled each inquiry with poise, emphasizing the necessity of collaboration and mutual understanding in addressing the pressing issues of climate change. They sought to portray a united front, demonstrating that diverse perspectives could coexist and lead to innovative solutions. As the press conference continued, Alara felt a sense of hope blooming within her. The dialogue was constructive, and the presence of industry representatives helped to validate their message. They fielded questions from reporters, clarifying their commitment to collaboration and transparency. Each response was an opportunity to reshape the narrative, to turn skepticism into understanding. After the press conference, as the cameras faded and the crowd dispersed, Alara and her team gathered to debrief. "I think we made a significant impact today," Maya said, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "We turned a potentially damaging situation into an opportunity to showcase our commitment to collaboration. I can already see the shift in the atmosphere." Samuel smiled, his expression one of relief. "We've shown that we're not just scientists preaching to the choir. We're part of a broader conversation that includes diverse voices and perspectives. This is how we change the narrative and foster a culture of collaboration." As they celebrated their small victory, Alara felt a renewed sense of determination. She understood that resistance would always be a part of their journey, but she also knew that they had the power to shape the conversation and foster understanding. Each challenge they faced was an opportunity to refine their message and strengthen their resolve. In the following weeks, the team continued to roll out their public awareness campaign, reaching out to schools, community organizations, and local businesses. They organized workshops that allowed participants to engage with the material actively, exploring how ethical practices in science could be applied in their daily lives. The response was overwhelmingly positive, with many expressing gratitude for the information and resources provided. As Alara watched the campaign unfold, she felt a sense of pride in what they had accomplished. They were not just advocating for change, they were empowering individuals to take action and make informed choices. Each workshop, each conversation, and each story shared contributed to a growing movement committed to ethical scientific practices and sustainability. However, the echoes of resistance were still present, manifesting in subtle ways. Some industry leaders remained skeptical, viewing the campaign as an encroachment on their autonomy. Ilara received emails filled with critiques and warnings, suggesting that their efforts could threaten jobs and economic growth. While most feedback was constructive, a few voices were particularly harsh, accusing them of being idealistic and disconnected from the realities of the business world. One evening, feeling overwhelmed by the weight of the criticism, Ilara confided in Maya. "Sometimes it feels like we're fighting an uphill battle," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "No matter how hard we try to promote collaboration, there are always those who will see us as adversaries. It's disheartening." Maya nodded empathetically, her brow furrowing in concern. "I get that. But remember, change is always met with resistance. The important thing is to stay true to our mission and keep pushing forward. We can't let the negativity deter us from our goals. We need to focus on the positive impact we're making and the lives we're touching." Alara took a deep breath, realizing the truth in Maya's words. "You're right. We can't lose sight of our purpose. We're doing this for the future, for the generations that will come after us. We have to keep fighting for what we believe in, no matter how difficult it gets." The next day, Alara and her team convened to analyze the feedback they had received. They decided to host a series of open forums, inviting skeptics to discuss their concerns and share their perspectives. The goal was to create an inclusive environment where differing opinions could be expressed and addressed constructively. As they promoted these forums, Ilara felt a sense of hope. By actively engaging with those who were resistant, they could foster understanding and potentially change some minds. The forums would provide a platform for dialogue, allowing them to address misconceptions and highlight the benefits of ethical practices in science. The day of the first open forum arrived, and Ilara stood nervously at the front of a room filled with community members, industry representatives, and fellow scientists. The atmosphere was tense, with a palpable mix of curiosity and skepticism. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice steady despite the apprehension she felt. "We're here to listen and engage in meaningful conversations about the challenges we face regarding climate change and ethical scientific practices. Your voices matter, and we want to hear your thoughts." As the forum progressed, participants expressed their concerns candidly. Some voiced fears about job security and economic stability, while others questioned the feasibility of transitioning to more sustainable practices. Ilara listened intently, taking notes and asking clarifying questions. She was determined to foster an environment where everyone felt heard and respected. One industry leader, who had been particularly vocal in his opposition, raised his hand. "I appreciate the opportunity to share my perspective," he began hesitantly, "but I still worry that pushing for these changes too quickly could jeopardize jobs in our community. We've built our livelihoods on the current system, and change is scary." Ilara nodded, understanding the gravity of his concerns. "I completely understand where you're coming from. Change can be daunting, especially when it feels like it threatens our way of life. But what if we approach this transition as an opportunity to innovate? By investing in sustainable practices, we could create new jobs and industries that not only protect the environment but also provide economic growth. It's about finding a balance." The discussion continued, with participants sharing their experiences and insights. As the conversation unfolded, Ilara felt a shift in the room. The initial tension began to dissolve, replaced by a sense of shared purpose. People started to see the potential for collaboration and innovation, recognizing that they could work together to address the pressing challenges they faced. By the end of the forum, Ilara felt a sense of accomplishment. They had opened the door to dialogue, and many participants expressed gratitude for the opportunity to share their thoughts. She knew that while changing minds would take time, they had made significant progress in fostering understanding and collaboration. As the weeks turned into months, the team continued to hold open forums, engaging with the community and addressing concerns head-on. They saw a gradual shift in attitudes as people began to embrace the idea of ethical practices in science and sustainability. The movement they had started was gaining traction, and Alara felt a renewed sense of hope for the future. One evening, as Alara stood outside the research station, gazing at the stars that twinkled in the vast Antarctic sky, she felt a profound sense of hope. The universe felt expansive and full of possibilities, and she knew that they were part of something much larger than themselves. Together, they were navigating the echoes of resistance and transforming them into a symphony of collaboration and understanding. "Here's to the journey ahead," she whispered to the night sky, her heart filled with determination. "May we continue to learn, to grow, and to advocate for a world where science serves humanity and the planet." With her heart full of hope and resolve, Alara turned back to the station, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They had embarked on a mission that transcended their individual aspirations, and together they would work tirelessly to ensure that the lessons of the past informed their actions for the future. Each step they took was a testament to their commitment to ethical practices in science, and Alara was determined to forge a path toward a sustainable and equitable world for all. The movement that Alara and her team had ignited began to gather momentum, like a wave building strength before crashing onto the shore. As the community engaged more with the campaign, conversations shifted from mere discussions about climate change to actionable steps that individuals and organizations could take to make a meaningful impact. The resonance of their message was palpable, and Alara felt a sense of optimism that had been hard-won through months of resilience and determination. The atmosphere at the research station was electric. Plans for a large-scale community event were in full swing, a culmination of their efforts to engage the public and inspire collective action. Alara envisioned a festival-like atmosphere, filled with interactive booths, educational talks, and workshops that would showcase sustainable practices. This was not just a chance to inform, but an opportunity to celebrate the progress they had made while reinforcing the importance of ethical practices in science. As the days passed, the team worked tirelessly to coordinate every detail of the event. They reached out to local businesses, schools, and environmental organizations, inviting them to participate as partners. The goal was not only to inform, but to create a sense of community and shared purpose. Alara felt the excitement build as they received confirmations from various groups, each bringing their unique perspectives and resources to the table. On the eve of the event, Alara stood in the main hall of the research station, surrounded by her team as they prepared materials and set up displays. The air was thick with anticipation and a touch of anxiety. "This is it," she said, glancing around at the hustle and bustle. "We have an incredible opportunity to show everyone what we've been working on and why it matters. Let's make it unforgettable." Maya, who was arranging pamphlets on a table, looked up and smiled. "We've come a long way, Alara. Just think about how far we've come since the summit. We've gone from having a handful of supporters to creating a movement that spans our entire community. That's something to be proud of. Plus, the enthusiasm I see here is contagious." Samuel, checking the sound equipment, chimed in. "And the best part is that people are starting to understand that they have a role to play. It's not just about us in this room. It's about every individual who wants to make a difference. This event could be a turning point, a moment that galvanizes our community into action." As the sun rose the following day, casting a warm glow over the research station, Alara felt a surge of energy. The day had finally arrived. The team gathered to finalize preparations, and soon the community began to arrive, filling the space with laughter, conversation, and a palpable sense of hope. The event kicked off with a welcoming speech from Alara, who stood before a crowd of eager faces. "Thank you all for being here today. This gathering is a testament to what we can achieve when we come together with a shared purpose. Climate change is not just an abstract concept. It's a reality that affects every one of us. Today, we celebrate the steps we've taken and the paths we will forge together toward a sustainable future." As she spoke, Alara saw the faces of her community members light up with enthusiasm. She could feel the energy in the room shift. A collective commitment to change was forming. Throughout the day, Attendees participated in workshops that ranged from practical sustainability tips for everyday life to discussions on the ethical implications of scientific research. Local businesses showcased sustainable products, and students presented projects highlighting their innovative solutions to environmental challenges. The atmosphere buzzed with creativity and inspiration. The scent of fresh coffee mingled with the sounds of laughter and conversation, creating an inviting environment that felt warm and hopeful. One highlight of the event was the Voices of the Community segment, where individuals shared personal stories about their experiences with climate change. A young woman spoke about how rising sea levels had impacted her coastal hometown, describing the panic she felt as her childhood beach gradually vanished. Her words resonated with many in the audience, who nodded in understanding and empathy. An elderly man shared his memories of witnessing the changes in wildlife populations over the decades, recounting how he had once fished in a river teeming with life, only to see its banks erode and its waters grow murky over the years. Each story added depth to the conversation and illustrated the personal stakes involved in the fight against climate change. As the day progressed, Elara felt a sense of fulfillment wash over her. They were not just informing, they were mobilizing. People were connecting with one another, forming networks, and igniting passion for the cause. A sense of camaraderie filled the air as Elara knew that they were building something lasting. She took a moment to step back and observe the scene, feeling grateful for the opportunity to witness this transformation. However, as the day unfolded, Elara received a message that brought her back to the reality of their challenges. A local newspaper had published an opinion piece criticizing the event, claiming it was merely a publicity stunt that would not lead to any real change. The article dismissed their efforts and questioned the legitimacy of their claims about climate action. The words stung, and Elara felt a pang of frustration and disbelief wash over her. "This is exactly what I was worried about," she said, her voice strained as she shared the news with her team during a brief break. "We're being framed as the enemy when all we want to do is foster collaboration and understanding. This could undermine everything we've worked for and the relationships we've built." Samuel placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We can't let this deter us. Instead, we need to respond proactively. Let's organize a press conference to address these claims directly and clarify our position. We can emphasize that our goal is to work alongside industry leaders, not against them." Maya agreed, her expression resolute. "We need to show the public that we are open to dialogue and collaboration. Let's invite industry representatives to join us at the press conference and share their perspectives. This could help bridge the gap and demonstrate that we're all on the same side when it comes to protecting our planet." With renewed determination, the team set to work on their response. They crafted a statement that emphasized the importance of ethical practices in science and the need for collaboration across all sectors. They highlighted the potential for innovation that could arise from sustainable practices and the benefits for both the environment and the economy. The statement was carefully worded, aiming to diffuse tensions while reinforcing their commitment to ethical stewardship. The day of the press conference arrived, and Elara stood once again at the podium, her heart pounding as she faced the cameras. Beside her were representatives from various sectors, including a prominent figure from the renewable energy industry who had been a vocal supporter of their initiatives. "Thank you all for being here today," Elara began, her voice steady despite the scrutiny. "We understand that the issues surrounding climate change and sustainability are complex and multifaceted. Our mission is to foster collaboration, not confrontation." As she spoke, Elara noticed the attentive expressions of the audience. She shared stories of communities affected by climate change, emphasizing the need for ethical considerations in scientific advancement. "We believe that by working together, we can find solutions that benefit both the economy and the environment. It is not a matter of choosing one over the other. Rather, it is about integrating ethical practices into our scientific endeavors to create a sustainable future for all." The representative from the renewable energy sector took the microphone next, sharing his company's success in transitioning to sustainable practices and how it had not only reduced their carbon footprint, but also created jobs and increased profitability. "We're living proof that sustainability and economic success can go hand in hand," he stated passionately. "It's time to shift the narrative and recognize that ethical practices are not a hindrance, but an opportunity for growth." The dynamic atmosphere of the press conference was palpable. Questions flew from reporters, some supportive and others skeptical. Elara and the representative handled each inquiry with poise, emphasizing the necessity of collaboration and mutual understanding in addressing the pressing issues of climate change. They sought to portray a united front, demonstrating that diverse perspectives could coexist and lead to innovative solutions. The energy of the Partsa crowd shifted, and Ilara sensed a growing interest in their message. As the press conference continued, Ilara felt a sense of hope blooming within her. The dialogue was constructive, and the presence of industry representatives helped to validate their message. They fielded questions from reporters, clarifying their commitment to collaboration and transparency. Each response was an opportunity to reshape the narrative, to turn skepticism into understanding. After the press conference, as the cameras faded and the crowd dispersed, Ilara and her team gathered to debrief. "I think we made a significant impact today," Maya said, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "We turned a potentially damaging situation into an opportunity to showcase our commitment to collaboration. I can already see the shift in the atmosphere." Samuel smiled, his expression one of relief. "We've shown that we're not just scientists preaching to the choir. We're part of a broader conversation that includes diverse voices and perspectives. This is how we change the narrative and foster a culture of collaboration." As they celebrated their small victory, Ilara felt a renewed sense of determination. She understood that resistance would always be a part of their journey, but she also knew that they had the power to shape the conversation and foster understanding. Each challenge they faced was an opportunity to refine their message and strengthen their resolve. In the following weeks, the team continued to roll out their public awareness campaign, reaching out to schools, community organizations, and local businesses. They organized workshops that allowed participants to engage with the material actively, exploring how ethical practices in science could be applied in their daily lives. The response was overwhelmingly positive, with many expressing gratitude for the information and resources provided. The community's involvement began to grow exponentially, and word of their efforts spread beyond the local region. As Ilara watched the campaign unfold, she felt a sense of pride in what they had accomplished. They were not just advocating for change, they were empowering individuals to take action and make informed choices. Each workshop, each conversation, and each story shared contributed to a growing movement committed to ethical scientific practices and sustainability. However, the echoes of resistance were still present, manifesting in subtle ways. Some industry leaders remained skeptical, viewing the campaign as an encroachment on their autonomy. Ilara received emails filled with critiques and warnings, suggesting that their efforts could threaten jobs and economic growth. While most feedback was constructive, a few voices were particularly harsh, accusing them of being idealistic and disconnected from the realities of the business world. One evening, feeling overwhelmed by the weight of the criticism, Ilara confided in Maya. "Sometimes it feels like we're fighting an uphill battle," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "No matter how hard we try to promote collaboration, there are always those who will see us as adversaries. It's disheartening." Maya nodded empathetically, her brow furrowing in concern. "I get that. But remember, change is always met with resistance. The important thing is to stay true to our mission and keep pushing forward. We can't let the negativity deter us from our goals. We need to focus on the positive impact we're making and the lives we're touching." Ilara took a deep breath, realizing the truth in Maya's words. "You're right. We can't lose sight of our purpose. We're doing this for the future, for the generations that will come after us. We have to keep fighting for what we believe in, no matter how difficult it gets." The next day, Ilara and her team convened to analyze the feedback they had received. They decided to host a series of open forums, inviting skeptics to discuss their concerns and share their perspectives. The goal was to create an inclusive environment where differing opinions could be expressed and addressed constructively. As they promoted these forums, Ilara felt a sense of hope. By actively engaging with those who were resistant, they could foster understanding and potentially change some minds. The forums would provide a platform for dialogue, allowing them to address misconceptions and highlight the benefits of ethical practices in science. The day of the first open forum arrived, and Ilara stood nervously at the front of a room filled with community members, industry representatives, and fellow scientists. The atmosphere was tense, with a palpable mix of curiosity and skepticism. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice steady despite the apprehension she felt. "We're here to listen, and engage in meaningful conversations about the challenges we face regarding climate change, ethical, scientific practices. Your voices matter, and we want to hear your thoughts. As the forum progressed, participants expressed their concerns candidly. Some voiced fears about job security and economic stability, while others questioned the feasibility of transitioning to more sustainable practices. Alara listened intently, taking notes and asking clarifying questions. She was determined to foster an environment where everyone felt heard and respected, recognizing that their diverse perspectives could lead to richer discussions. One industry leader, who had been particularly vocal in his opposition, raised his hand. "I appreciate the opportunity to share my perspective," he began hesitantly. "But I still worry that pushing for these changes too quickly could jeopardize jobs in our community. We've built our livelihoods on the current system, and change is scary." Alara nodded, understanding the gravity of his concerns. "I completely understand where you're coming from. Change can be daunting, especially when it feels like it threatens our way of life. But what if we approach this transition as an opportunity to innovate? By investing in sustainable practices, we could create new jobs and industries that not only protect the environment, but also provide economic growth. It's about finding a balance that works for everyone." The discussion continued, with participants sharing their experiences and insights. As the conversation unfolded, Alara felt a shift in the room. The initial tension began to dissolve, replaced by a sense of shared purpose. People started to see the potential for collaboration and innovation, recognizing that they could work together to address the pressing challenges they faced. By the end of the forum, Alara felt a sense of accomplishment. They had opened the door to dialogue, and many participants expressed gratitude for the opportunity to share their thoughts. She knew that while changing minds would take time, they had made significant progress in fostering understanding and collaboration. As the weeks turned into months, the team continued to hold open forums, engaging with the community and addressing concerns head-on. They saw a gradual shift in attitudes as people began to embrace the idea of ethical practices in science and sustainability. The movement they had started was gaining traction, and Alara felt a renewed sense of hope for what lay ahead. One evening, as Alara stood outside the research station, gazing at the stars that twinkled in the vast Antarctic sky, she felt a profound sense of hope. The universe felt expansive and full of possibilities, and she knew that they were part of something much larger than themselves. Together, they were navigating the tides of change, and she was committed to forging a path toward a brighter, more sustainable future. "Here's to the journey ahead," she whispered to the night sky, her heart filled with determination. "May we continue to learn, to grow, and to advocate for a world where science serves humanity and the planet." With her heart full of hope and resolve, Alara turned back to the station, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They had embarked on a mission that transcended their individual aspirations, and together they would work tirelessly to ensure that the lessons of the past informed their actions for the future. Each step they took was a testament to their commitment to ethical practices in science, and Alara was determined to forge a path toward a sustainable and equitable world for all.